Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. I got an update for you on this Arturo Gamboa guy. So the last couple of videos I've done is on the Salt Lake City shooting that took place where a peacekeeper, ironic, a peacekeeper shot Gamboa, Arturo Gamboa, who was initially arrested and put in jail, and one of his rounds missed and hit an innocent protester, a bystander, a person who was just there doing his thing, who's loved by his community, by the way. I will give props to the Salt Lake City DA because there's probably a lot of pressure, politically and otherwise, saying, who are we going to point the finger? We need justice. And what is justice? Well, justice would not be charging Arturo Gamboa with a crime. You see, witnesses and the peacekeeper that shot Gamboa allegedly. Initially, it was reported he shot him in the stomach. He shot him what appeared to be in the back and through and through, meaning it went in and then it came out, right? So a clean wound because he wasn't in the hospital long before they put him in jail. He was in jail for 4 days. Then they gave an extension. No charges were officially filed, and so they just recently let him out. The problem is that the witnesses and the peacekeeper lied about what they saw. Now, it's easy to misperceive things, but let's be honest. If it wasn't for that CCTV camera that contradicted every statement that was made, including a press conference statement by the chief of police of Salt Lake City, this dude would be in prison for the rest of his life. Now, there's a few things you have to know about Arturo Gamboa. One, the initial reports of him being a veteran, not true. He's a punk rocker activist. That's what I know of him. He likes guns, according to a news report by the Tribune, the local Salt Lake City Tribune, and he likes punk rock. He's an activist. Let me show you a picture. You see this picture? Yeah, this is Arturo Gamboa at a Salt Lake City protest in July of 2020. So 5 years ago, he's doing this. You saw it on my thumbnail. He marched in these same protests with this AR. The only problem with the allegations that were made about him potentially going to do a mass attack, the lawyer of this peacekeeper just came out today and said, this dude's a hero because he prevented a lot of lives that were going to be lost. Yeah, except Arturo Gamboa's AR wasn't loaded. It was empty. His MO is obvious because this is what he does. Oh, yeah, he's not a right-wing anything. He's not a conservative anything. He's actually on the side of the protesters in this organization called 50501. Okay, Utah501.com has a mission statement which says, we must unite to take back this country. 50501 is a nonpartisan grassroots organization committed to stopping executive overreach. I don't even know what that means, but okay. Upholding the Constitution. Yeah, I'm on board there. And fighting oligarchy through nonviolent means. I don't even know what that means, but okay, do you. I'm all about liberty and freedom. 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. So there's a Utah division. Well, a few days ago, the national division just cut ties with the Utah division. Whoops. Yeah, they came out and said, well, initially it was reported because the Utah 50501 said, thank you so much to the peacekeeper and to the police who stopped this violent attacker. And everything is not how it appears, especially initially. Because when you go back to Gamboa, he is an activist who's on the side of the protesters. And when he was doing this, he wanted to get his AR to protest and show the cops, the system, what's up. In fact, I got a little quote from Gamboa. During this speech, in this picture, just imagine, I'll pop this picture up for you. He says, if you want to break down an engine, you don't replace it with the same spare parts or put the same oil inside of it and put premium gas inside of it. Whatever that means. He said, no, he said, you fill that tank with sugar and you let it break the F down. So imagine Arturo thinks he's sugar. Whatever. I'm actually on Arturo Gamboa's side despite our contrasting 100% apart from our political views, I'm on board with this dude. You know why? Because the witnesses and this shooter, this peacekeeper, in air quotes, lied. They said that Gamboa was running towards the crowd with a gun pointed at the crowd, except that's not what happened at all. That's not even remotely what happened. If you want to see the video, 2 videos ago, I showed the video. And now the news is reporting that. So good on the Salt Lake City DA for not folding to political pressure. But guys, this dude would be in prison for the rest of his life if it wasn't for the video that proved he didn't do what he did. So no charges have been filed. This dude's lawyer comes out, this peacekeeper dude's lawyer comes out and says he's a hero. I beg to differ. So there's 4 rules, primarily principles of firearm safety that are like gospel in the firearms community. And if you shoot firearms, you should know these. But one of them is know your target and what's beyond it. I mean, you can go even more in detail. It's like if you engage a target, you have to know what's beyond your target, understanding that those rounds could penetrate your target and hurt somebody on the other side. Know your angles, know your backstops, know your rounds. This guy shot Gamboa, and he also threw around 160 feet away. Yeah, there's reports on it. It was 160 feet away. But there's no excuse for that. So I supported this peacekeeper when his lawyer wasn't coming out calling him a hero. Guys, like, let's just stop. Let's take a step back. I get it, because this dude's afraid of taking responsibility. If you accidentally kill somebody in trying to be intentionally good by defending other people's lives because you perceive something different, well, it's an accident. And accidents happen. We understand that. But to shrug off responsibility and act like you were some hero while you didn't know or identify your target, what do you mean you didn't identify your target? Well, when Gamboa was engaged, as per the video that we reviewed, his AR was pointed down, okay? So for you just to say stop and the guy doesn't stop and to think that you could just engage him, again, you're at a protest in a state that's open carry, okay? You look at situations like Kyle Rittenhouse and you go, how do things like this happen? You get hit in the head with a skateboard, you get knocked to your back, you have to defend your life. That's a very different circumstance than confronting a person with an AR that's slung, pointed at the ground, that's empty, by the way, and I know he didn't know that was empty, and then you sling around in the direction, missing, and then killing an innocent person by shooting them in the head, and then you call yourself a hero through your lawyer? Yeah, I don't think that's going to fly. I don't think there should be charges filed against Gamboa, period. I think he's an innocent man who almost spent the rest of his life in prison for his actions, but he wasn't responsible for what happened because he was exercising, as per Utah 50501's mission statement, his constitutional rights. All about that life. So who should be held responsible? Now, I don't think this guy should be charged, but I think there should be some accepting of responsibility, and accidents happen. I'm no legal expert. I don't think he should be charged for manslaughter or anything like that because I don't think the intent was there. But I will tell you, when you carry a firearm, it is a huge responsibility. A lot of people love to carry. They love the virtue signal they carry. They have all the pics, all the EDC posts, all the kit, all the gear, but can't quote you or cite law in self-defense in their own state. Hell, their own city or town. So if you carry, you need to train. That's an important component to carrying. And if you make a mistake, you have to own it. The fact that these guys lied and said they perceived something they didn't perceive, yeah, the shooter, maybe he's under stress, he's not trained. But then you got witnesses who are like, yeah, these guys saved the day. And then you got the Salt Lake City chief of police regurgitating that in a press conference. Not going to work for me. Well, Utah 50501 said they were separating themselves from the Salt Lake City division because they thought it was irresponsible how it was done. This is the same division, the same action arm that was congratulating the peacekeeper who ended up shooting one of their allies. That's essentially what happened. Lastly, let's review this picture of this Arturo Gamboa kid. The thumbnail has him walking in front of the crowd. This is the one where he popped off. It was at a Salt Lake City protest in 2020. So from head to toe, or head to knees. So he's got a cell phone in his right pocket. You see that. He's got an AR. He's looking like Che Guevara, yeah, as per. He's got a single-point sling. See how it's slung around his right shoulder or right arm? And then it's attached at a single point. It appears he has a second tethering so he could disconnect it quickly. And I think that's a Magpul sling. I could be mistaken. You guys let me know. He's got his stock completely extended, which for how tall he looks with his lanky arms, that's the appropriate length. And he's got a very stock, old school AR butt stock. Nothing wrong with that. It appears that he has an aim point ACOG optic. It's either an aim point ACOG or it's a Tasco. But he does have a riser on it, which gets him above that rail, which allows him to actually utilize his backup iron sight that appears to be made by Magpul as well. And he has a muzzle brake. Not just a flash hider, but a muzzle brake on the front end of that appears to be 14.5 pin welded to a 1.5 inch at a minimum muzzle brake. That muzzle brake looks to be like a JP tactical brake. That's what it looks like to me. Standard Magpul magazine and stock pistol grip. So likely this AR, apparently according to his friends, he didn't usually load the AR. He just protested with it as a show of force. Now, there's another picture of him marching at the same event, and you could see it right here. And in the background, there's a dude that's holding a sign that says Blue Lives Murder. All right, so politically, again, an ally that was trying to likely flex on the cops and show of force or show of protest, he wanted to hold that AR exercising his constitutional rights. Nothing wrong with that. I am just surprised he hasn't been charged because he could have easily been charged, but the Salt Lake City DA did the right thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And if you have any updates, I probably didn't check comments on how many of you were like going after me going, he's not a veteran. And I apologize for that because I put out what the initial reports stated, but turns out he's a political activist and appears to love punk rock and exercising his constitutional rights. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't listened to the new podcast, you should, because we're getting into mobility builds and loadout. Also, if you want to listen to the uncensored version of this, you should always do that. Check out my patreon.com/Mike Glover, which is linked down below. It's absolutely free unless you want to get further education on all things preparedness. Till next time, peace.